Well, here we are, Season 1, Disc 2, Episode 107, Eye of the Needle, A Chance to Go Home. Welcome to the D. Louise book series. I'm Christina Carrier, STINA. This is where we read books, talk about books, no special effects, no theme music, none of that fancy stuff going on here. Shoot. I am in pain. I do not know why. My sciatica has acted up today. Please bear with me for 2 seconds. So they think they're actually going to go home through this wormhole? Let's check it out. Let's see. There is a voiceover. Where is my... let's see. Look! We've got a companion! Shall we read the voiceover together? Captain's log, stardate 48579.4. The crew has been scanning constantly for anomalies that might help us shorten our journey home. Ensign Kim has reported an exciting discovery, a subspace disturbance which may be a wormhole. Do you think it's a wormhole? What do you think? Has see any? I do not know where my mouse went. So she joins everybody on the bridge. Everybody's all excited. All right, goodbye. Let's see what you've have, Mr. Kim. There is registering only a subspace bands. We don't even have it on long-range sensors yet. Vernon emanations tunneling secondary particles. It looks like a wormhole. Chakotay says, but it's stable enough for enter, and if it is, where does it lead? There is, of course, a 75% chance the wormhole will not lead to the Alpha Quadrant. Very true, Janeway says, but you can also say there's a 1 in 4 chance it will. Those aren't bad odds. Any analysis yet, Ensign? Too far away. We have to be within 1,000 kilometers to get a detailed analysis. That would mean a significant course change. Well, Mr. Kim, even if there's the possibility of finding a wormhole, I think we can afford a detour. Lieutenant, input the coordinates and change course. Aye, Paris says. And I may suggest, if this works, we petition the Federation Astronomical Committee to designate this the Harry Kim wormhole. Out of all the Star Trek theme musics, I like Voyager's the best. Where was I now? I lost my place. It doesn't look like any wormhole I've ever studied. Microscopic gravinal entities, extremely constricted spatial dimensions. The pathways barely wider than the probe itself. Hold on, I skipped a piece. A very teensy weensy wormhole. Alright. Magnify. Increase to highest magnification. It's a wormhole. It must be the smallest one on record. Mr. Kim, are you able to analyze it? Aye, Captain. It is virtually microscopic. Aperture is only 30 meters in diameter. I guess it's too small for us to fly through. However, Tuvok says, it would be large enough to act as a conduit for a message. That's right. It could carry a compressed data compression transmission to the Federation in minutes. And in season, I don't know, 6 or 7, they'll actually do this. Let's see. We still have to find out if it goes anywhere near the Alpha Quadrant, Janeway says. Kim says, I can't get any directional reading at all. The aperture is too small. I recommend we launch a microprobe into the wormhole, Tuvok says. Janeway agrees. Tuvok doesn't. Kim says, we're receiving telemetry. It doesn't look like any wormhole I've ever studied, Tom says. Micro-gravitational eddies, extremely constricted spatial dimensions. The pathway's barely wider than the probe itself, Kim says. I think we're seeing a wormhole in an advanced state of decay. Must be ancient, probably collapsing for centuries, Janeway says. Does that mean we can't send a message through? No, I can do it. It'll take longer to get through, but the wormhole's still stable enough to carry a transmission. Any idea where that message would end up? Ensign, I'm extrapolating the verticon exit vector. No, I can't get it. There's a strange phase variance in the radiation stream. We'll have to wait until the probe exits. That shouldn't take too long, Janeway says. Paris says, I'm getting an extorted energy reading. The probe's telemetry has changed. It's stuck. It's stuck? It's mirrored its gravitational eddy, and the wormhole's in state of collapse. Those eddies are impossibly depth. The probe will never break free. Captain will have no way of finding out where the wormhole ends. Let's give it some time. Maybe it'll work itself loose. Captain, what is it? Our probe just scanned. There's somebody on the other side of that wormhole. There's your wormhole, just to show it. So then we are in sick bay. It started acting up a couple of days ago, Baxter says. I've been working out in the gym. Maybe I overdid it. And he's like, is it sore here? He's touching here. He's touching there. He has a strained ligament, torn muscle, and hairline fracture. That's exactly right, the doc says. I've studied all the material you gave me. I'm ready for more. Good. And they treat him and they let him go. And then Kes and the doctor have a talk. Doctor, did you notice how rudely that officer treated you? Not more so than most. You mean others act that way too? Let's just say I've become accustomed to treating like a hypo spray. Now there's some material on the first aid for burns. Doctor, I think I'd like to do more than study first aid. I'd be interested in knowing more about anatomy and physiology. You're intellectually curious. I like that. These deal with human anatomy and psychology, but they weren't written for the layman. They're quite technical. And Kes says, I understand. I'll do my best. I appreciate your help. So then we're in the briefing room. Kim says, we've analyzed the data. So far, our sensors have detected 4 separate scans of the microprobe, each one on a progressively narrower band. Someone on the other end of that wormhole is definitely interested in that probe. We cannot prelude the possibility that there is a microscopic entity within the wormhole curious about an intruder, Tuvok says. That's possible, Kim says, but you think our probe would have detected something like that. Janeway says, what's the condition of the probe now? Torres says, I've been monitoring it from engineering. It's still embedded in a gravitational eddy, but within 72 hours will be crushed. Kim says, but then it should continue to transmit telemetry. Janeway says, if we're reading scans from the other side, it's possible the probe is acting as a relay. If that's true, of course, we should be able to transmit a message to whoever is executing the scan. Yes, Kim says. I can modify our subspace communications band to accept the probe as a booster. Let's give it a try, Mr. Kim. Then Tuvok and the captain have a small chit-chat after everybody leaves. I fear Kim's exuberance may turn into an equally intense disappointment if his efforts prove in vain. You may be right, Janeway says, but I'd rather assume that he's going to be successful. Yeah, it's not. You can hope all you want. You can hope and pray all you want, but it's only the first season. Sorry. So then we're in engineering with Harry and Kim. Kim says, I've boosted power to the communications bandwidth. Now all we have to do is reconfigure the signal generator so it's compatible with the probe's long-range sensors. Torres says, I'm on it. Just a few minutes more. Kim says, this has to work. It'll mean so much to people back home to know we're alive and headed for Federation space. We haven't been gone that long, Taurus says. People won't give up on us so soon. They probably think we're lost. It's going to be hard on my folks, Kim says. I've always called them once a week, even when I was on my training missions. I've never been out of contact for so long. Well, it's going to work, Starfleet, so pretty soon they're going to know you're right. How about your family, Kim asks. I haven't seen my father since I was 5. He and my mother separated. He went back to Earth, and that was the last I saw of him. And your mom? I think she's on the Klingon homeworld, Taurus says. You think? We don't get along very well. Okay, the signal generator should be turned to the probe's long-range sensors. Is there any back home who would worry about you? Taurus says, the Marquis are close to family as I've ever had. Most of my friends are here on the ship, so no, there's no one back home who's going to care one way or the other whether I'm alive. And then Kim contacts the bridge. They're doing all these headshots as each person talks instead of a shot of the room. So I'm not going to stop and start and stop and start. I'll do it a couple times. But, so Kim contacts the bridge. We have a communications link with microprobe. We're going to try to send it. Ah, shoot. We have a communications link with the microprobe, Kim says. We're going to try and send a preliminary test series of signals of subharmonic pulses. Then they go back to engineering. They stand the best chance of transmission through the wormhole, Kim says. Janeway says acknowledge. Then Chakotay says, I'm reading transmission of the test signal. The probe has received it and relayed it. How will we know if the signal reaches somebody? The only way is if someone answers. Then it's back to Kim. And then Kim says it's too soon. There's no response. And Taurus says it's too soon. Remember, we have no idea how long it takes to reach the other side. And then we go back to Janeway. Are you reading anything, Mr. Tuvok? Tuvok says negative. And Chakotay says, even if someone receives our signal, it might take them time to figure out how to return it. And Janeway says, right. And then they do it again. And Kim says, how long should we keep doing this? And Janeway says, until I tell you to stop. So then Tuvok says the miracle words. That signal is being transmission. We're getting a signal. The signal is being transmitted at exactly the same frequency and amplitude as our signal. It's a response. Someone has received our transmission and sent it back, and their signal originated in the Alpha Quadrant. And everybody is so excited until... So then we get the voiceover. Captain's log sentimental. Encouraged by his success in transmitting a signal to the Alpha Quadrant, Mr. Kim is investigating the possibility of establishing a voice link with whoever is at the other end of the wormhole. So Cass comes to see the doctor. If there were a member of this crew whose needs weren't being met, would you want to know about it? Oh, yes, of course. Do you and Neelix feel that your needs are being ignored? No, of course not. We're happy here. I'm referring to the doctor. The doctor. I don't understand why people treat him the way they do. How do they treat him? As though he doesn't exist. They talk about him while he's standing right there. They ignore him. They insult him. Well, as a matter of fact, I've been hearing the other side of the coin. Many of the crew have complained that the doctor is brisk, even rude, that he even lacks any bedside manner. We've been talking about reprogramming. You can do that. It doesn't seem right. Yes, he's only a hologram. Kes says, he's your medical officer. He's alive. No, he's not, Kes. He's self-aware. He's communicative. He has the ability to learn because he's been programmed to do that. So, because he's a hologram, he doesn't have to be treated with respect or any consideration? Very well. I'll look into it, Janeway says. Thank you, Captain. Okay, so the Kim and Taurus at another station in engineering. I'm still worried about the gravitational interference. I don't think the covariant isolator will be effective with the vocal transmission. Let's try to narrow the band filter. Janeway comes in. It's a pain in the butt. They couldn't get 3 of them in the same shot. But anyways, They tell her that uh, they're ready to give it a try. Though we're pushing through some pretty heavy gravitational interference. I can't guarantee the clarity of the transmission. Janeway says, okay, let's see what happens. This is Captain Catherine Janeway, the Federation Starship Voyager. Do you read? It goes garbled. Then she says it again, and it's still garbled. And um, then they do it a couple different times, and then it says, I am captain of the cargo vessel Talgrath, location Alpha Quadrant, sector 1385. What's your location? We're in the Delta Quadrant, but since this quadrant hasn't been charted, I can't specify our location. Please confirm. You said Delta Quadrant? Correct. In a Federation starship? Yes, we were on a mission and got pulled into this quadrant. Pulled how? It's a complicated story. Please, if you could adjust your deconstructing the phase shift of our hailing frequency, you could verify. You are undoubtedly in the Alpha Quadrant. What are your coordinates? I assure you I'm telling you the truth. We are on the Delta Quadrant, 78,000 light years away from you. This is preposterous. You are lying. I am terminating transmission. No, wait, Kim, hail them again. And he broke off the transmission. I was aiming for Tuvok, but I got the captain instead. The Tuvok says, if he's engaged, Lepau says why would he pretend to be a cargo captain? If he's engaged in some kind of secret research, he might want to conceal that fact. Oh, let me back up here. I missed the beginning of this. Sorry, let me redo this. Tuvok says, the comlink signature of this transmission indicates the message originated from a Romulan ship. Further, there are no known shipping lanes in this sector he identified. Given the precise calibration of his signal, I would suggest that he is in fact on board a science vessel. Why would he pretend to be a cargo captain? If he's engaged in some kind of secret research, he might want to conceal that fact. Tuvok says, precisely. We claim to be transmitting from the Delta Quadrant. An impossibility so far as he knows. He may have feared we were Federation spies. Justar Lectora says, we're one ship from the Alpha Quadrant has to be Romulan. That Romulan still has the possibility to get a message to Starfleet. Mr. Kim, hail the Talveth repeatedly, and let me know when you reestablish contact. So then Captain Janeway goes to medical. And he says, please state the nature of the medical emergency. Well, that's good. I was right in the middle of preparing a culture test to Lieutenant Hargrove for Therian flu when Ensign Kyoto deactivated me. I'm sure she didn't realize you were busy. What is it you want, Captain? Actually, I thought we might just talk for a moment. About what? Doctor, you were originally programmed to serve in a limited fashion during an emergency. Now you're being asked to do so much more. That's certainly true. I'm providing full-time medical service for the entire ship's crew, functioning as a doctor and nurse, and now as an instructor as well. You don't have the luxury of thinking of yourself as an emergency medical program anymore. You've become a full-fledged member of the crew. Are you suggesting that I become reprogrammed? No, I'm asking you if is anything I can do to help. Is there anything you need or want? I'd like to see you get it. What I'd like to be is turned off when people leave. I spend hours with here, nothing to do. When someone does remember to activate me, they do so without asking if it's convenient. It's extremely irritating. What if I give you control of your deactivation sequence? I beg your pardon? I'm sure we can make it possible for you to turn yourself on and off to prevent being turned off. I might like that. I'll have someone look into it. Anything else? I'm not sure. I'd have to give it some thought. You do that. Janeway leaves. So then we show Janeway sleeping in her quarters, and she gets informed by Kim that the Romulan captain has opened up additional communication. And she's talking to him. Let me see if I can do this. So it would be nice if she had turned the lights on, maybe. But she talks to him, Thank you for answering our hail, Captain. What is your name? How may I address you? I prefer not to give my name. Very well. I understand that you might have been skeptical when I told you where we are. I hope you've been able to verify our position. My analysis of your hailing frequency seems to indicate it originates in the Delta Quadrant, but I am not preluding the possibility that you've been able to create an illusion somehow. To what end? I'm not sure, he says. How can I assure you of my truthfulness? You say you are a Federation starship. Are you a Starfleet vessel? Yes, we are. And your mission is in the Delta Quadrant? Our mission was originally in the Alpha Quadrant. We were pulled in to the Delta Quadrant against our will. Aren't you and Starfleet spies on the surveillance mission? Captain, I can understand your concern. Naturally, the Romulan Empire doesn't want Starfleet spying on its science vessels. But we're 70,000 light years from Romulan space, and a subspace message to Starfleet would take years. I think you have to admit that we can't be much of a threat to you. Soothing words, Captain, but they are only words. If we were spies, we wouldn't be asking what I'm asking you now. We have no way of communicating with Starfleet, with our friends and families. I was hoping you might be able to relay a message to us. Our crew is not large. Each of them could write a short personal message. You'd be welcoming them to read them all before passing them on. I'm convinced they're nothing more than the heartfelt words of some lonely people. Captain, it would ease my appreciation if I could see that who you are. So they're going to work at trying to get him a visual link to them. We've been trying a visual link with the Romulan ship, Captain. We didn't have any trouble configuring the protocols, but the phase variance in the radiation stream gave us a few problems. So let's see what we've got here. So, they finally make visual communication. I am not familiar with this class of ship. It's a new, but it isn't classified. I'm a little surprised your intelligence hasn't provided you with the information. I've been in space for over a year, Captain. I'm not privy to the latest intelligence, but I'm sure that an operative provided the government detailed about your new ship. No doubt. Captain, have you been able to communicate with your government about sending messages? I have. They promised to look into the matter and advisement. I see. When do you think you'll have an answer? Uh, I skipped a page. It's impossible to predict the timetable of the Romulan Senate. When they've made the decision, I will hear from them. We don't have the luxury of a deal of a time where my office is predicting the probe will close in 48 hours. Captain, I'm a low-ranking scientist, a minor functionary. It is not my place to tell the Romulan Senate to speed up their decision. And then they talk about his family and trying, hey, look, how would you feel if you were going to discover you're going to be away from him forever, blah, blah, blah. And he says, he knew when he accepted this assignment, there would be a price to pay. I didn't realize how high. He's missing his family. Every one of us on the ship left behind friends, family, loved ones. We might see them for years, maybe never. So how can we all understand how lonely you must be? Surely you must understand our feelings. And he says, I cannot guarantee success. He'll try and persuade his superiors. So Torres has an idea, but she only wants to talk to the captain privately. She doesn't want to get the crew excited. The phase amplitude of the visual link with the Romulan ship is just a few megahertz of meeting transporter protocols. Are you suggesting we might be able to piggyback a transporter beam into the visual link? We could transport the entire crew back to the Alpha Quadrant. You'll have to reconfigure the transmission rate fairly substantially, and we risk losing whatever we try to beam out. We'll have to run a series of tests first. See to it. You have my authorization to use any of the ship's personnel you need. Don't worry about secrecy. People are going to find out anyway. And then she picks up a picture of a man and a dog. The guy she left behind and her puppy she left behind. And the scene ends. So then Kes talks to the doctor. I've been thinking if we do get back to Federation space, I'd like to explore the possibility of going to medical school. If you continue to apply yourself as you have, by the time we get back, you may already have equivalent of a medical degree. Then you haven't heard what? We might be getting back soon. If there's one thing this you can count on is that I'm the last to be told about anything that happens on this ship. And she tells him about the contact with the guy in the Alpha Quadrant. So that Janeway tells the guy that they've established this link with him. Apparently, our intelligence operatives are not doing their job. You clearly have technology that we are unaware of. This would be incredible breakthrough in subspace field mechanics. If it's successful, we'd like to transmit a cylinder to you. A test cylinder of what sort? It's a standard Starfleet mechanism with a varied he goes through all this stuff. I'm not aware of this mechanism. I use a similar device. I will allow the transport. So they transport the thing. And it ends up solid on the other side. And then they call it back and they get hold of it solid. So they do a couple of test runs. And later on, Chakotay says Kim and Torres have done this 20 times. She's still having trouble with the cylinder, but they're going to try it with the Romulan. So they beam him in, and the first thing they discuss, they ask him what year. They ask the guy what the year is, and he says it's 2351. And Chakotay says, but they are in 2371. So there's a 20-year time difference. Our Romulan visitor is a person out of time. He is showing clear evidence of temporal displacement. I would surmise that the wormhole is a rift not just in space but in time. The unusual phase variance we detected was actually an indication of a temporal shift. We have transported him 20 years into the past to our present. Oops. So they're in the briefing room. And Taurus is explaining that yes, the guy is from 20 years in the past. So they end up giving him a thumb drive and saying, in 20 years, can you hold on to this for 20 years and present it to Starfleet in that time? And the guy agrees. And they will never know if their messages reach home or not. And then Tuvok gives her the depressing news. I'm sorry to report that Dr. Ramor died in 2367. That was 4 years ago. That is correct. Before he would have sent our messages. Maybe he left a will telling someone to transmit the messages, or could have given our computer chip to the Romulan government. It's possible. Unfortunately, there's no way to know. Well, let's move on. The doctor treats that guy again, the same guy that he treated previously. And the doctor decides that he does have one specific request. And as we know, he never actually decides in 7 years what it's going to be. But they just call him Doc for the next 7 years. He requests he would like a name. And that's how the episode ends. So I hope you will tune in next week with Ex Post Facto. And if you haven't watched the previous ones, please go watch the previous videos. Please go listen to if you like this author, then you might like that author later this afternoon. And Flashback Mondays, we're just about to the end of that. Then I'm going to try something else on Mondays. So we'll see what happens. And my daily book reviews. I have close to 2,000 videos out there. If I could get likes on them all, that'd be appreciative. If I could just get views on them, that would be appreciative. So if you could please hit the like and subscribe, I'd appreciate it. Have a good one.